We never had, in the time I've been there, any physically violent actions. We haven't had any students hitting someone else or hurting other people. And also because it's a really small school, everyone knows everyone else and everyone knows what everyone else is doing. So there's sort of not much that people don't know about. We're always very aware of problems or conflicts people might have, and all very aware of special situations and attentive to those situations, and everyone tries to smooth things out if something's not going so well, and it does work quite okay.
Is there any violence at your school?
None at all.
That's not true. No.
Our school, first of all, there's a very big problem of violence in schools in Israel. An immense problem. I think Israel is one of the most schools, the most violence in schools in the world. Maybe second place, I think,
No.
or even first.
No.
And in our school, you don't see the kind of violence you see in other schools in Israel. In Israel, you can see serious, dangerous fights in schools that can injure a child. In our school, there is violence, but playful violence. You know, kids just rolling around, beating each other up in a playful way without any intention to harm each other. And there's complete intolerance for actual violence in order to harm other people. If a person comes and, I don't know, punches someone, they could easily just get kicked out of the school for that one act.
If it's just verbal, you know, and people can be very angry,
Yeah.
you know, and we'll just let them be angry and yell at each other.
Yeah.
But the minute that somebody actually goes to
Yeah.
commit violence against someone else in anger, then they get separated, and those are very, you know, we take those complaints very seriously.
We had about 3 boys that were 14 years old the first year that were very violent and aggressive and, you know, cursed at people and hit people. And one of them actually got kicked out. Was, you know, the school meeting told him, "You're expelled." And the other 2 were suspended for months and told that if they wanted to return, they'd have to present their case to the school meeting and you know, convince the meeting to accept them back into the school, but they didn't come back.
Whenever we suspend anyone, we have a conference with their parents and them, you know, and we talk. I mean, usually we try to make sure that the people that are on the conference are people who are sympathetic to the person.
Yeah.
You know, they're not just there to emphasize the the punishment. Mostly they're there to say, you know, a lot of times we try to get a kid on the conference that had trouble when they were younger, you know, with their own anger, you know, and so they can say, you know, if you have an 8-year-old that hits people, you know, and you're trying to deal with that, having a 15-year-old on the committee that says, oh yeah, when I was 8, you know, I had trouble with my temper and I used to hit people and it was really hard for me to learn to do it, but I did, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and these are some of the things I did. You know, and that's always our goal in these conferences.
I know there was a time when I threatened to cause serious bodily harm to another student, and then tried to do it. I think that was the worst thing I ever did. I got suspended for 3 days for that.
Nobody ever did.
If there's a case where someone is hurt, when their feelings are hurt, there's a rule against it. You don't hurt other people's feelings. And it works quite well. I've often heard little kids saying, "Stop, you're hurting my feelings, there's a rule against that," or "Stop it, or I'm gonna put in a complaint." And that's quite effective because the justice community deals with those complaints and people talking about it. And it really does help to prevent bullying or any abuse happening at the school.
The students who have been violent at traditional schools, how do they behave when they are new to your school? How do they maybe change their behavior?
You'd never know which kids it is. I mean, the sweetest, most sensitive, harmless kids go, oh yeah, I got kicked out of my last school for beating people up. Like, unbelievable. They just don't feel a need to be violent.